welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to be looking at this book, Mooncakes by Loretta Seto, illustrated by Renné Benoit. I am not going to admit, I'm probably mispronouncing these. So this is one of the books that I'm using to kind of counteract some of the harder subjects I'm covering for Ellis Island. So for Asian History Month, we're kind of, this is an addition to, because I want to give something to the kids, and I love these books. And I saw a couple of these books when I was at the public library with my daughter a while ago, which is the reason they're being filmed in April of 23, rather than normally where I would cover through my books and go through my list. So these are being filmed relatively early as compared to some of the other stuff that I'm going to be covering this year. So let's move on to this book. So this is the story of a little girl and how her and her family celebrate the Moon Festival. It's a very simple little story. The illustrations are very beautiful, and it's kind of a poetic story, and simple. One of the other things I like about it is, like my daughter, this is about an only child. So, she's talking about the moon. You see her illustrations here. And her parents are making mooncakes. She gets to stay up late that night. And then the other thing with this book is her parents, they're curled up in the backyard drinking tea and eating mooncakes, looking at the moon, and they tell her one of the stories of the lady who lives in the moon, and talks about a king who got the first archer and had him shoot down all the other 9 out of the 10 moons that were in the sky because the planet was too hot. And he was the Jade Emperor, and his wife knew about his wanting to live forever, and I do believe, yeah, this is not the Jade Emperor, but yes, this is and she also knew how unkind and cruel he was, so she took it from him as she ran, and he chased her, and until the moon rose, and she lives in the Jade Palace, so she was rescued. And then they eat more mooncakes, and her parents tell her of this woodcutter who wanted to live forever. We have a theme here. So we went to a hermit, but he refused to, basically he would stop and take a nap every time he was given something to do. So he was brought to this tree. This is a cinnamon tree. And you have to complete this task, and if you stop, you will grow old and die. So, and this was the Jade Emperor. So, he tries to cut the tree, and of course it constantly heals himself, and he's stuck on the moon forever. And then her parents tell her the story of the Jade Rabbit, and how these 3 magicians from the moon come down to test the animals, and how the fox gives them food, red berries from his den, and the monkey gives them guavas, and the rabbit offers himself. And so they take him to be on the moon with them forever. And she starts to yawn, and she's curled up with her parents, which I find really cute. And again, I have an only child, so my sweet little girl. So this kind of, it warms my heart as a mama here. And she says, thank you, it's time for bed, thank you to the moon, it's time for sleep. And she's curled up in her bed, and the moon looks after her. So this is a really cute book. It's a little long, I wouldn't read it for a story time, but it's beautifully illustrated. It's just kind of, it's a good way to introduce at least some of the mythology and the myths and legends of Asian culture, because it gives you kind of really shortened versions of at least 3 stories. I'm sure there's a heck of a lot more detail in a lot of these stories. So that's my brain is it's 8:09. I have a kid. I'm so tired. It's a really great book. It's beautifully illustrated. It's definitely something I think I would love to add to my collection in buying. This is obviously a library book, but it's a simple way to, this is her moon festival. So sometimes this is just how her and her family celebrate the moon festival. So I don't know if this is obviously not. I'm not sure if this is about the part of the Chinese New Year or not, but it's yawning. The Moon Festival falls on the 15th day of the 8th month, so of the year. So this is more near the end of the year, or late summer. 8th, yes. So 8th month of the lunar calendar, which I have no idea what the heck is. So I have no idea when this is. So, but it's a great little story here. Wonderfully illustrated, beautifully. Just this is how this little girl experiences it. Particularly, if you are an Asian family, if you have an only child, you're talking about Asian culture. This is a great way to introduce it. It's a very kind of, this is a warm and cuddly book. That's kind of how I would describe it. It's definitely something about this little girl. She's cuddling up with her parents. They're having tea. They're having mooncakes. And her parents are telling her the stories why they sit under the moon. So, that's the end of this video. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. I am covering Angel Island as well as some lighter children's books this month. I'm covering Ellis Island next month. And then I'm covering a bunch of other stuff. Maybe I won't go through it. It's getting late. Some of my videos, I go through all of it. But I'm covering Diwali come November. So that's a Hindu festival. I'm covering Mysteries in December. Beauty and the Beast is coming up in September. October, I'm covering space. I'm covering food in August for some reason. I'm eyeing here. This year total, I've covered some interesting, January covered some interesting hobbies. We're talking glass blowing and metal working kind of thing. I covered Black American History Month in February. I covered Women's in March, and then I covered the Titanic this year in April. So that's kind of what's going on. The book series I'm covering this year are Animorphs, Anne of Green Gables, The Boxcar Children, and Wings of Fire. So you're getting far less than you did last year if you're familiar with my channel, because I'm covering some longer series. So again, like and subscribe. Check out the rest of the channel. Check out what I've got, and leave a positive comment if you have one. Thank you.